One of the things that's exciting about what's going on right now in the bantamweight division is that there's so much talent. It might be the most talent-stacked division in the UFC. It's hard to say because 55 is great, 45 is great. There's a lot of amazing divisions. But for my money, I think 35 might be the motherfucker because there's just so many guys. There's Merab, there's Piotr, there's Marlon, there's you, there's Aljamain, there's Cejudo's in there now, and there's all these guys coming up too that are super high level. Chris Gutierrez, there's some fucking killers, and everyone recognizes that the level is so high in that division, and they see a fight like your fight with Marlon or Merab's fight with Piotr, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man. If you want to compete in that division, you got to have everything right. You have to dot your I's and cross your T's. You got to get that fucking exact amount of you got to do everything.
Hell yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
This is just the most insane pressure cooker that I think any division has ever had, because I feel like there's like 8 world champions competing for the #1 spot. Any one of these guys could be a world champion. Any one of these guys. And in another time period would be a world champion. But because of what's happening in MMA right now, because the skill sets are so high and the talent level is so high that everyone's recognizing that, and you're seeing these fucking insane breakthrough performances like every time from these guys, like Merab versus Piotr, like you versus Marlon. These breakthrough performances are just like where everybody else is like, God damn, got to go back to work, because it's just so pressure intensive.
When I reflect on that, it's awesome. And it also is like, it's literally going to bring out, it has to bring out the best in me for the next rest of my career. Like, it's absolutely has to. Like, it's not one of those divisions where it's like, I'm going to beat that guy, I'm going to beat that guy. And like literally all the way up and like past the outside the top 15, I'm like, man, if you're not on your P's and Q's and you're not working your ass off like you were a 21-year-old kid, you're going to be fucked. And so like that, I wouldn't have it any other way, man. Like, that's what's going to bring out the best in me, and I'm like super just grateful that I get to be a part of it while it's actually happening. It's kind of like feels surreal that that's the scenario.
It's awesome. It's awesome that you're embracing it like that, because it's awesome for me as a fan to watch this happen, because I think it's very unique. I think it's very special. With the UFC right now, it's a goddamn carnival. I mean, there's a fucking massive crowd of assassins that are all competing. And you'll see these new bantamweights that come into the UFC, and, you know, they might have 16, 17 fights outside the organization, and then you'll see them in their debut. You're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's world class. World class already. First fight in the UFC. I mean, that to me is so exciting, because this sport is the only sport that you could really name that if you go back to 1993 and you look at it from 2023, you're looking at a massive evolution in the game. Massive.
Massive.
I mean, not even comparable. There's not a single person from 1993 that looks like they're a world champion in 2023. But if you go back to 1993 in boxing, you got a lot of world champions. You got Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez. You got fucking assassins who can compete in any division or in any, rather, era at any time in boxing. You don't have that in the UFC. You have this complete new kind of thing that's emerging and evolving, and you're seeing these top performers that are just reaching total new heights.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like it's in like that period of like history where so I'm sure that all the sports went through this, but like wrestling is pretty standard. You know, like there's certain things that work really, really well. And of course, like people go outside the box sometimes, but there's like a proven system of like what works, where I feel like in MMA, we're not at that point yet. You know, like we're kind of like, we're all in this like discovery, like who's going to figure out how to make this thing work the best. You know, like that's almost what I feel like the race is right now.
Yeah.
Where the race is like I said, man, everyone works hard. Everyone's pretty athletic, you know, like everyone kind of has like their little quirks and like the ways that they do things or whatever. But who's going to figure out how to be like the best system of MMA? Because every other sport I feel like has done that. That's like why most soccer games look like all the other soccer games.
Yeah.
But in fighting, not all the fights look like the same fights. And I think that that's just because it's in this like realm of just full-blown creativity, which is because we're just trying to figure out like who's gonna get the best system first, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
It really is fun. It's so fun to watch. And I think that's really important what you just said is creativity, because that's a big part of this overwhelming style that you have, is that it's creative, is that you're doing things that are unexpected but standard. Like you're doing punches, kicks, takedowns, but unexpected. So you're finding a way to deliver these things inside of these spaces and movements and stance switches. It's fucking wild to see, man. And it's so exciting to witness this growth of this, what I think is the greatest sport that's ever existed, and to watch it blossom and bloom and become what it is now.
It totally is, man. Like, fighting's the best sport in the world, man. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's no other sport that's more inspiring either. Like, it's one, like, fighting's entertaining as hell. But, like, how inspiring is it when you watch, like, a guy like Volk go fight Islam up a weight class? You know, like, how inspiring is that? Sometimes I wonder if that's just me, but I don't really think it is, man. I think it inspires the world.
That's a Rocky movie.
Yeah, seriously, man. Like, Israel taking on Pereira this week. Like, how inspiring, man. Like, the guy's lost to him 3 times, and he's like, he knows, man. Like, he knows that if he loses again, like, he's probably not going to fight for a title for a little bit.
Yeah.
That shit's inspiring, dude. Like, how much higher can the stakes get?